Welcome back to Basic AF. This is week 13, handling your first client delivery. The problem is almost never the work. It's the expectations around it, the anxiety that fills the gaps when those expectations aren't clearly defined from the start. So, the two ways your first delivery usually goes wrong. The freeze. Work starts, you second guess every decision, you undo things you've already finished, you write defensive essays explaining choices the client never asked you to justify, and you send the work late because you can't stop tweaking it. Or the over delivery spiral. You know what you agreed to deliver, but anxiety whispers that it might not be enough. So you add a bit more, then a bit more again. You deliver twice what you agreed to. You're exhausted and you've accidentally set expectations for the future of every client. Both of these feel very different, but they come from the same place. Unclear expectations at the start and an absence of permission to trust your own judgment. The fix for both is the same. Clarity at the beginning, discipline in the middle, a clear ending. 3 things that you should confirm before you begin. Not implied, actually confirmed, and ideally in writing. One short email or a 3-minute conversation at the project start is completely professional and genuinely helpful. What does done look like? Not your definition, their definition. What does the client need to be able to say or do at the end of this engagement? Not something vague like have a brand identity. Concrete, something measurable. 3 retail bag designs, production ready files, consistent visual identity across them. 2. What's the feedback process? How many revision rounds are included? Do they give feedback by email, a call, or a shared document? What turnaround time do you need from them to stay on track? And 3, what's out of scope? This is the one people skip the most and regret the most consistently. Name it explicitly. If the client asks for something that is outside of it, you can say yes and charge for it, or just say no. But either way, it needs to be a clear decision, not a murky drift. So the freeze, and what to do instead. The freeze comes from outsourcing your confidence. You make a decision, doubt it immediately, and go look into the client to validate the call before they've even seen the work. What does it look like in practice? Could be 17 sentences of preemptive justification in your cover email, 3 rounds of self-revision before you've even sent anything, or work delivered late because it didn't feel ready. The fix comes in 2 parts. Send with confidence, not approval seeking. Here are the directions. Direction 1 leans into craft. Direction 2 is cleaner and more retail forward. Direction 3 plays with texture. I'm drawn to 2. I'd love to hear your instincts. 3 sentences, clear thinking, invites a decision. And then set decision deadlines. By X day or X time, you will have decided and you will not revisit it until the client has responded. Good work sent at the right time always beats perfect work sent too late. And remember, uncertainty is contagious. A client who receives defensive framing starts wondering if there's something they should worry about, even if the work is excellent. The over-delivery spiral and how to catch it. Over-delivery feels virtuous. It isn't, or at least it's not always. The hidden cost compounds quietly across every engagement you take. Your rate drops. You work more hours than you budgeted, effectively cutting your own hourly rate without telling the client, or sometimes even yourself. Expectations get reset. You've accidentally told every future client that this is the standard. They're going to expect the same, and you haven't agreed to that. And you deplete yourself. It shows up in energy, creativity, and quality on the next project, not just this one. Use the over-delivery test. Before adding anything to a delivery, ask these 3 questions in order. Is this in the agreed scope? Yes? Do it. Did they ask for it? Yes? Discuss it with them. whether it's included or additional. Am I adding it myself? Yes. Ask why. If the answer is anxiety, then stop. You can always as well add in the 30-minute rule. If something takes more than 30 minutes beyond what you estimated for it, stop and name it. Is this a rabbit hole you've gone down? Is it scope creep? Or is it an underestimate that you need to think about in the future? They're all worth knowing. None are solved by silently absorbing that time. So how much to communicate and when? You don't need to send constant updates. You need to communicate at agreed milestones, flag problems early, and be reachable when your client has questions. When you're at the start phase, let them know that you've started. It sets a professional tone and confirms the alignment of expectations. When you're delivering work, send the agreed point with a short, confident cover note, not an essay. If you're going on to the next step, give a clear time frame for what happens next so that they're not left wondering. And flag any problems early. If something unexpectedly arises, say so immediately, not when it's already a crisis. If something is running late, tell them before the deadline, not after. That's a professional communication. Sending nothing and missing the deadline is not. And your cover note formula should be what you're sending, plus the thinking behind those key decisions, and one clear question on next step. 3 to 5 sentences maximum. If the client goes quiet on the feedback, send a chaser, clearly worded, not 3. So, what about when the client asks for something outside of scope? It's going to happen. It's not a problem. It only becomes a problem if you don't handle it clearly. The discomfort of having a conversation is significantly less than the cost of not having it. If it's genuinely within scope, you maybe misread the brief or it's a reasonable interpretation of what was agreed, then just do it. No conversation needed. Account for it next time. If it's outside of scope and you want to do it, have a conversation. Tell them, this is what's outside of what we agreed. I am happy to include it and do the work, but it would be an additional price and take more time. Do you want me to go ahead? Clean, professional, and gives them a real choice. If it's outside of scope and it just doesn't fit, say so. That's outside of what we agreed for this project. I want to keep us focused on the agreed outcome so that we hit the deadline. If you want to look at adding this additional thing as a separate project afterwards, I'd love to go through that with you. What you don't do is silently absorb it and say nothing and then resent the client for something they didn't know you were doing. So, what does a well-managed delivery look like? What you are doing. 3 things confirmed before starting. What does done look like? What's the feedback process? And what is out of scope? You're making decisions, reviewing once, and sending with a confident cover note. You're running the over-delivery test before you add anything. You're communicating at the milestones and flagging problems early. And you are naming scope expansion and having that conversation clearly. What you're not doing is rewriting work you've already reviewed because of a free-floating anxiety. Adding things nobody asked for because the silence feels insufficient. Sending defensive essays alongside good work. And going silent when something is delayed. You're not absorbing that scope creep without saying anything. The measure of a good delivery is that the client got what they needed, you delivered what you agreed, and you're tired in a good way, not the depleted, resentful way. 2 things to do this week. Confirm your 3 things. If you have a current client or a project starting soon, write down what done looks like, what the feedback process is, and what is out of scope. Share it as a simple confirmation email with that client. If you don't have a client yet, write down what those would look like for your offer. Have those answers ready before you need it. And 2, pick your rule. Identify your pattern. Is it freeze, over delivery, or maybe both? Choose one concrete rule for this thing. If you freeze, I will review my work once and send it. I will not revise again before the client responds. If you go into over delivery, Before I add anything, I'll run the over-delivery test. If it's both, here's a good one. Nothing gets sent after 9 p.m. Nothing gets added that wasn't in the brief without having a conversation. As always, if you want to download worksheets that will help you go through this process, you can find them in the BBS community. And there is a podcast version of this that takes you deeper into the why it is so important. Next week, we are covering the Simple CRM, a way to track your clients and leads without buying expensive software or building a spreadsheet so complicated it takes a PhD to update it. All you need to do is be able to capture contacts, track status, and follow up. We're going to cover the minimum viable system that keeps you professional and organized without the overhead that makes most freelancers abandon their tools within a fortnight. We'll see you there.